Just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Just whatever you truly enjoy, as long as people are seeing you're having fun with it, they'll also have fun with it as well. Just follow what you love. Just do it.
I recently had the pleasure of sitting down with Jill from Studio 204. If you have been around on Instagram, you likely know her from either her beautiful nursery signs or her faceless portraits that she hand paints every piece of. What was really cool about this conversation is she hasn't done all of those traditional things that you're told to do when you start your own business. She isn't on Etsy. She gets all of her custom commissions through Instagram, but she also didn't start this way. So I hope that you enjoyed this conversation where you can learn a little bit about how she got started and her advice on how you can get started too. Welcome, Jill. I'm so excited to talk to you today about your business and about all the things that you do using your lasers. So, why don't we start with you introducing yourself and letting everyone know a little bit about what your business is
Great.
currently, and then we can go back and talk about how you got started.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you for having me, by the way. So I'm Jill. I own Studio 204, which is a custom artwork company, I say. I mostly do anything custom, anything the customer wants, whether it's nursery signs or I mostly specialize in portraits right now. And I make them all on my Glowforge.
You have a really distinct style, and I absolutely love seeing everything that you do. And I love when you add new things because I'm like, oh, that's the perfect thing for her to have added to her style. So, talk to me a little bit about how you got started, really specifically with, let's start with the portraits, and then let's go back to like the beginning of your business.
Sure. So portraits actually started, I think, in 2020 during COVID. I was super bored, as a lot of people were, but being home all day. So I took a course on how to do digital drawings. So I learned on Illustrator how to transform like a digital image into an actual line drawing. And from there, I was like, you know what, I can probably transform this even more. So I figured out how to then export it to print onto my Glowforge. The first one I did was for my cousin's wedding, actually. I wanted to make her a really unique gift. So I took one of their photos that I found online of her and her now husband. And I made a cute line drawing of it and then printed it out. And then it's really fun because you can paint them to like the actual colors of the portraits themselves and you can match their outfits and stuff or anything unique that they have on them. You can match it to that. So it's really fun. And then I just got hooked on it. I love it. I think it's probably the most fun thing that I do.
Did you paint before? Were you always an artist? Because I feel like painting is a challenge for a lot of people. I'm not a great painter. So that's totally something I'm curious about.
Yeah. I'm not good at freehand painting. If I was just to take a canvas and a paintbrush and some paint and paint, I probably couldn't do it. So I actually started with Cricut projects and doing stencils and then painting on top of the stencils. So that's how I really learned all of my techniques for painting. And then I just translated that to the Glowforge prints.
Did you have a business before you bought your Glowforge, or was the Glowforge the start of the business? How did that all happen?
Yeah. So I started in 2017, actually. I went to a palette party with friends. So palette party is just the host had a bunch of these wooden boards there. I think I did like 12 by 8 size or something. And we put on a fall stencil. So we painted the stencil with the Cricut stencil. Um, and I went home that night and I was like, you know what, I could probably do this too, because my dad is actually a carpenter. So I was like, this is a perfect merge of both worlds. I could do the design part and he can help me create these palettes. So I actually started there with the Cricut business. And then I started doing more palette parties myself and then selling custom designs too, also that way. But I would say I started first with Cricut projects was my first business.
Okay. And then you decided to add the laser because you just knew what else it could add to that current business?
Yep. I wanted to try something new. I feel like it's important as a business owner or just anyone to just continue learning new tips or new techniques. So I was like, this looks really fun. And one day in 2020, I just bought one without doing much research. I was like, I know that this can probably help me level up my business a bit more. And I bought it that day. And it came a couple weeks later and it's been amazing ever since.
What did you do when you moved on from going to a palette party? You got so you did the Cricut, your dad was
Yep. Yep.
doing the palettes. Is
Yeah.
that true? Okay. And so were
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
hosting these parties on your own?
Yep. So we started off with family just so I can practice how to actually have the party and like the order that everything should go in. But then I started posting to Facebook, I think, about a local group, like a local town in my area, if anyone was interested. And I started going to people's houses and doing it there. So I would host parties for like anywhere from 5 to 10 people and maybe even more than that. And I would stay with them for 5 hours, like the whole time and just help them paint, teach them like step by step how to do it. So it was really fun. And you got to know people. And then I started doing it for libraries as well. So during COVID, I taught virtual classes from home. So I would lead them through from my home, and everyone would be in their own homes doing it with me, like using pre-arranged kits that I sent out. And then once that was over, I started going back to libraries to do in-person classes.
So that's really awesome. You are very brave because I think that's something that people are very nervous about when they're starting out with if they get a laser and they're like, maybe I want to start a business. It's how do I put myself out there and how do I market myself?
Yeah.
And you were already doing that. So what was it that gave you the confidence to do that? And what tips would you have for people who are like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to put myself out there.
You just have to do it. Believe you can and go for it. Just put yourself out there. It's very intimidating the first time, I'm not going to lie. But once you're there, it is so much fun.
What tips would you have for people who are figuring out how to market themselves and their business? So they're just starting out, they've started making some things, they want to start selling them, or maybe they want to start hosting parties, or they have ideas of things that they know they could do with their laser. How do they get the courage and the confidence to go out there and start marketing themselves?
I would say, like I did, lean on your friends and family for support at first. You can host parties or just do custom artwork for them. And word of mouth helps a lot, whether it's hosting a party and they tell their friends about it. Like I had a just really fun night hosting a palette party. We got to paint and drink and eat, and it was a good time. Word of mouth helps tremendously. And also just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Just whatever you truly enjoy, as long as people are seeing you're having fun with it, they'll also have fun with it as well. So just follow what you love. Just do it.
So you were putting it out there to people who you thought might be interested in it, right?
Yeah.
And then that way you were able to continue to grow through that. If people want to do the palette parties, how did you how did you figure out pricing? Did you do it based on materials, time? Like, how do they even get started with that? And were there any other things that you're like, whew, I really messed that up the first couple times? And I,
Oh, yeah. At first, for sure, I probably definitely messed up pricing. I'm definitely underpriced for like years, probably. But you really need to focus on your supply cost and then your labor cost. Those are the two most important factors. And then, of course, you'll add in your markup so that it is profitable for you and you can enjoy doing it and you don't work for just straight cost. Yeah, I would just definitely take it into account supply and labor costs for sure.
and you said you started small with friends and family. I think that's a really great idea. So what did you say to your family? Were they like, this is a silly idea, I don't want to do this? Or do you have a totally supportive family?
No. Luckily, they were all super supportive because they knew I was always into art and it's like an excuse to get together, have pizza or drink wine or whatever you want. It's like such a fun time for everyone to get together. So everyone was on board, luckily. But I do think that is a great way to promote it too. Just be like, bring snacks, bring whatever you want to eat and drink, and then we'll just paint together and socialize. It's so fun.
How did you transition over to primarily customs? Because I know that's something else that a lot of people are interested in doing.
Mhm.
One, because it allows you to do something new and creative often. I would think that's probably enjoyable. And
Yeah.
hopefully, generally, you can charge a little more. So that might be more sustainable for some people than doing a lot of things on a repetitive basis. So you started with your cousin's wedding, and then you've had more interesting opportunities come up. Did people just ask you,
Yeah.
hey, could you do this?
That was probably one of the very first truly custom pieces I did. And from there, I think it was just organic. Once I posted that, people, I think they saw and it was a bit different and unique because it's such a customized gift that people can give that you don't see elsewhere, really. Besides other creators in the community, you don't really see that at a store.
And were you nervous about that? Were you worried about what you were going to charge? Were you worried about it
Um,
being good
oh
enough?
my gosh. It's a learning curve for sure. But once I posted that first one, then I started to just get more inquiries coming in. And I was like, you know what? I can probably do this a lot more. And I truly just started to really enjoy it. The pricing aspect of it was a bit tricky since it is custom. You do have to charge a bit differently because they do take so much more time. It takes, oh gosh, I would say 5 hours from start to finish. So that was also a learning curve, learning how to price it accordingly. But it is such a unique gift.
So, as you're starting to get more custom orders, how were you balancing, especially given your limited time? How were you balancing the custom orders and the parties and knowing what made sense to you?
So I started slowing down the parties dramatically because I did really enjoy doing the custom orders more. So I would do one party every month or so, or probably less frequently than that. And then my main focus was on the custom orders. At first, to be completely transparent, I didn't know how to balance the orders. So I just had like an influx of orders come in and I would just bang them out whenever I could. But now I am learning how to create boundaries or say, no, I can't do this right now, or I'll need a bit more time. And also, I've learned to give myself more lead time to create the product. So I used to just get an order in and have it done within 2 weeks while also working full time and doing party. So it was pretty crazy. So now I'm like, you know what? We need 6 to 8 weeks at least to get these orders done, just so I have more time to dedicate towards them.
And do you
Okay.
feel like with those custom orders, as you were getting more confident with what you could do and how long it would take you, what are some of the biggest learnings in that? And what would you, if you could do it over and you could start just doing the customs, how would you prepare differently?
Oh my goodness. I would be clear about timelines. I find it's pretty difficult because of people are so used to Amazon, things come the next day. So you have to prepare the customer. This is going to take me quite some time. So I would definitely be more clear on the turnaround time. That's super important. Give yourself enough time to complete it. Don't rush anything too. And then also be clear about your pricing and know that if something is custom, you probably do need to increase the prices a bit just because they do take so much more time.
Do you find that now that you're seeing more people that are doing similar things, is it challenging the conversations that you're having sometimes with customers who are people that are potentially interested that don't understand what goes into the product?
Sometimes, not too frequently. A lot of people are super understanding of the time that goes into the products, and I actually just created a website to document the exact steps that I take to create the product so they can see how much work goes into it, and I think that really helps. Only a couple times people are like, "I don't understand why this is so expensive," but it's a ton of work. So I think it is justified.
Were you doing most of your sales just through Instagram or on Etsy prior to having your website?
Oh my gosh, all of my sales, everything, 100% was just on Instagram. So I would say maybe 1% was friends and family or like word of mouth, things like that, but primarily just Instagram through DMs. I'm like constantly checking DMs. And I was like, you know what? We need a better system for this. So I just created a website where people can go on and submit a custom order request or just see my products that are available instead of just DMing me, and back and forth conversations do take quite a bit of time. So now it's just my website they can go to, submit an order, and I'll get back to them via email. But my DMs are always still open for inquiries.
So here's what I love about your story. One of the things that people ask me all the time, or that I get a ton of questions about, is like, how do I get seen? And I think what you're sharing, and they want to have all the things in place. I think that's where a lot of overwhelm can come in for people who are just starting out. I need an Etsy and I need a Shopify and I need this and I need that. Or I don't know how to get seen on Instagram. And there's a lot of ways that people can distract themselves from doing the thing. And I think what you show is that when you create a product that is unique and that you love and you present it to the world that way, then you can grow from there. See your story that way?
Definitely. I didn't have an Etsy shop at all. I still don't have an Etsy shop. So I think as long as you show it on Instagram, that is sufficient. If you can get orders that way, you can also create a website too to support your Instagram and give people more information on pricing and your actual products. But I don't think you need to feel pressure to set up all of these different websites to support your business. And then for Instagram, just be consistent. I know that the algorithm is not in our favor at all times. Sometimes you just don't get seen. I post reels all the time, they get like 100 views, but you just have to be consistent with it. Just keep posting. Don't let that discourage you at all.
How did you find your unique style? Because I think that's another thing. There's a lot of people coming into the laser world, and a lot of people are buying lasers and thinking, okay, people do really well with ornaments. I'm going to make ornaments. But if
Yep.
they aren't offering something unique, how do you help people to think about finding their unique voice? How did you find your unique voice? How did you know it was going to work? What are your thoughts there?
Honestly, it took me a while to find my unique style because I think I was following trends and seeing what other people were doing, and let me put my own spin on it, on this trend that I see, or doing, or I see so many people doing ornaments and being successful with that. Let me give it a shot, but I wasn't truly enjoying it. So I think I found my unique style when I was doing things that I actually really love doing, like the portraits. That's probably what I keep going back to because they are so fun to make and they're so unique. And so, yeah, I would say that is my top seller and I truly enjoy making them. So it works out really well.
That's great. When you made the first one, did you know it was going to be successful after you made the one for your cousin?
Not at all. I was like, people are going to think this is strange because they are like a bit abstract. I say they're they represent the people, but they don't have faces. And that's because I cannot paint faces, also because I do think the style is really cool and unique. And I was like, people are either going to love this or they're going to hate it. But I've actually got a lot of really positive feedback and still making them to this day. So I guess they were a hit.
That's great. And I think that I've seen a lot of people do similar things. And it's
Yep.
interesting too, because I think everyone does have a slightly different take on it.
Yeah.
What is what was the most challenging part of figuring out how to do it in the laser successfully?
Oh my gosh. It took a lot of trial and error, especially with the laser itself, just finding the correct settings to use for each one. It took me a few tries to get the first one even. And since then, I'm still like finding out new different techniques that I can use to make them print exactly how I want them. And I know if you can see closely, I also include a wrinkle on a shirt or something you'd see. I like draw the wrinkles so they look more realistic. Um, and I was like, I made those cut marks instead of score because I find that when you do score marks and the paint over it, they disappear. So you had to figure out your own techniques that actually work really well to show what you're trying to portray.
Yeah. Requires a lot of patience.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So much patience. Yes. A lot of time and a lot of different techniques.
I think that's something that I really like to make sure to tell newer people is someone's settings may be a starting point for you. They're not necessarily going to be your end point. And you do have to take that time. How did you give yourself the freedom to have the wasted materials? Were you able to do that because you had the parties to support it, or just you knew you were committed to figuring it out? And so the wasted materials didn't matter.
Yep. I was just committed to figuring it out. And also, I don't think that there really is wasted material. I have a stack under my Glowforge currently of this high of just birch sheets that I haven't that I've tried to print on, but you can still like make the tiniest scraps work. I use every scrap of material, so nothing is really ever wasted. But I was really just determined to figure it out.
Okay. And now you've added a larger laser to your arsenal.
Yep.
So what was the logic behind doing that? What made you need to do that, want to do that? And how have you found that?
So I did start my business out with a Glowforge that sits on my desk area. And there I can do anything that fits within the 12 by 20, 20 by 12 space. One day, actually, it broke and I needed to replace the laser. So I was looking at other options. And then I happened to, speaking to my friend who also is in this business, Iron Cove Customs, I mention him all the time because he's my supplier of birch and MDF, great materials. And he was like, why don't you look into a Thunder laser? So I did. I reached out to them and we got the Nova 51. That's currently in a garage because it is so giant. But that really comes in handy with the larger scale items. So if it's like we need to print a 24-inch round or something, we print that on there for my nursery signs, or we also do lately nursery name signs. So if someone wants to print their name like Isabella in a 48-inch, we can do it there. So I do use both interchangeably. I also ended up replacing my Glowforge. So I still do have both.
When you got started with that machine, it's a totally different experience than with your Glowforge. So what tips would you have for someone either deciding to start, if they're starting out and they're considering different lasers, what would you think about starting your business again? In what laser to pick and what considerations would you have in choosing your first laser?
I think just go based on what your business sells. If you only need a smaller laser, if you're only doing things that are max 20 inches, the Glowforge is it's perfect for that. And it's also like tabletop, it can sit right there on your desk like mine does. If you need larger scale products, the Thunder is incredible. If you need like if you're doing 100 ornaments, use the Thunder. It's incredible. It is so fast. We love it.
So when you think about what your big goals are for your business now and where you started, could you have seen yourself doing this? Is this like what your vision was?
I've always been an entrepreneur. So I started with two other Etsy shops actually to begin with. And when I was in high school or maybe college, I can't remember. So I started selling like aprons because I went to school for fashion, so I know how to sew. So I sold like handmade aprons that were super cute and then handmade beach cover ups. So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I always knew that I would have a business, but I didn't know what that would be or which one I would actually stick with. But of course, I would love to keep with Studio 204 for as long as I can because it's like my baby. I love it so much.
So this is not what you started out with. It wasn't like, okay, I have all of my steps mapped out and I know exactly what I'm going to do.
No, you learn and evolve constantly, even on a daily basis as a small business owner, you're still learning. And now I'm like, what is the next tool I can invest in to learn more tips and to learn more techniques? You're always learning every day. You're never going to have a set plan in place. I feel like things change on a daily basis, but as long as you know the direction you want to go and you like truly enjoy doing it, just go for it.
How do you think about your business now as you continue to grow? What are the things that you would like to add in? Do you know what you want to add into your business? Do you now have a vision of this is what I'd like to be doing in a year, 3 years?
I two things I want to add in more digital designs. I would love to create anything on my Adobe programs, like just translate an image from something in your phone to like a cartoon image, which is really fun. I actually did that for someone and she put it on a custom wine bottle for her friend for an engagement gift. And I thought that was such a cute idea. So I want to continue doing those for sure. And then another thing I really want to do, I want to host more classes, whether that's virtual or in person. I'm starting to pick up palette parties again. I have a couple library ones coming up. So I want to continue doing those because I do love working with people in person. It is so fun, like just sharing what you love with them and looking at them and getting hooked on it too. And then either just so in person classes or virtual classes where I can also teach them how to use my Adobe programs and how they can also create portraits for themselves. So I do get a lot of comments asking for people asking how they can do it too. So I do want to set up like a quick 101 or something like that, or a 3-part class or something on how to do that too, just to share it with them.
That's awesome. And I think there's a lot of people when they start out that don't want to design. So I think there's just as
Yep.
many people who want to do design and there are people who don't. And then there are people who don't know that they actually can do a lot more than they think that they're capable of
Mhm.
because those programs do make it a lot easier
Yeah.
to do things that you're like, oh, I can make a
Yep.
perfect circle really easily. I don't have to be able to
Yeah.
draw a perfect circle. It will just do it
Yeah.
for me. I can do that. Yeah.
It does look intimidating at first if you just like first open up Procreate and you're like, I don't know how to use this, but just watch YouTube programs or follow someone else on Instagram whose work you really admire and you can learn from them. I used a lot of YouTube to look up how to do things, even like how to use my Adobe programs that I use on a daily basis. I'm still learning how to use them. I'm not an expert at it, though. Yeah.
They're always adding new features. So
Yes,
there's
always.
no, yeah. What would you say is your favorite part of your business day to day?
I love working with people on a daily basis. That probably sounds super cliche, but you can talk to so many new people every day or whenever they DM you and you just really get to know them and what they want. Especially for portraits, you get to transform like a favorite photo of theirs into something that'll last for ages and they can pass down because they do last a few years at least if you seal them correctly.
Oh, what tips do you have for that? What materials do you use in those portraits?
So the portraits, I do them mostly using birch or MDF, and then I paint them with any kind of acrylic paint. But at first, I didn't seal. I didn't know that was a thing that you should do. So now I seal everything with polyurethane spray. It's the best. Whether it's like you can use matte, which I know people do a lot now, but I use semi gloss, and there's also glossy too. There's like a ton of different versions, whatever you want to use, but you need to use them for sure.
If you're starting totally from scratch and you knew you wanted to have a laser business, what would be the first things that you would do? So, what would you recommend for someone who is thinking about getting a laser? They know they want to start a business, but they're not entirely sure what they want to make or where they want to sell it. What advice would you give them to start out?
I would say just don't feel pressure of what other people doing and just start with what you truly enjoy. If you have to make a list, like an actual write down a list of things that you enjoy making and where you want to take it and just start really small. Don't get overwhelmed by everything that you see. Don't try to do everything that everyone else is doing. Find something that you really enjoy that you find fun to do. And I would just focus on that. And then you can continue to develop and add more products to your catalog from virtual catalog. But I would say just master one thing so you don't get overwhelmed. Because I see on a daily basis, oh my gosh, I want to try this. I need to try that. And I do get overwhelmed still. But I'm like, I really enjoy doing this portrait. So I'm going to keep doing that. I love doing nursery signs. I'm going to keep doing that as I can. I will add more products. But I just focus on what I actually really enjoy doing.
That's awesome. How else would you say people can market themselves? So, Instagram has been really great for you. You said Facebook as well worked well for you in the beginning.
Yeah, Facebook is a great tool. If you have a local town or like even your town, they might have a Facebook page um, or a mom's group or school groups, things like that. You can post yourself if the group allows it. There's some rules on Facebook groups. But if they do allow, you can just say, hey, I'm available for palette parties or whatever kind of parties you want to host or I can do custom nursery signs and just post a little bit about yourself, about what you can do and some samples of your work. And I can guarantee you'll get like at least 5 comments or something like that from people. And then from there, it just spreads word of mouth.